You are clearly a blind man with no strength to tie a chicken, yet he called out the great sage equal to heaven, Sun Wukong. He struck the Buddha as soon as he was born, but the Buddha fell into deep thought, wondering where the Super Saiyan monkey came from. At first, you didn't know your disciple was Sun Wukong. He doesn't even know you're just blind. To survive in a world full of monsters, you can only grit your teeth and collect the Monkey Sutra as soil, although you don't understand divine arts or Taoist arts. But as a sage once said, the body is the cultivation. Value the sky. You tell Sun Wukong that as long as your body is strong enough, and thus become invincible under heaven. But the monkey clearly believed you, and started imagining things on his own. That way, you've been teaching the cultivation methods of the Guxiang, squats, long distance running, push-ups. If 100 isn't enough, he'll give 1,000, 10,000. As long as he didn't die, he trained his disciples to the death. You first run around the island. Pick some fruits from the island for your own convenience and inspection. Sure enough, after Wukong ran around, feeling a boost in strength, he couldn't wait to offer fruit. Asked about the next step in cultivation methods. Although you've been hungry for several days, but she still ate me slowly, then calmly pointed to the side. Tomorrow you carry this stone and keep running. When will I be able to finish a lap in an hour? We proceeded to the next step of training. At night, I will also give you academic classes. So-called academic courses are basically the protagonists in the online novels you've read before transmigrating, all with awesome teaching and explosive formulas, all tightly connected. If the monkey cultivates according to the story, it is the teachings of the sages that cannot be practiced. That's because my comprehension is too poor. Sure enough, the more the monkey listened, the more absorbed he became. Regret, it is not that he left the body of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even at night, the monkey still couldn't fall asleep for a long time. On one hand, she was concerned about the teacher's fragmented follow-up plot. On the other hand, I feel moved by how many years I've traveled through the world. Only then did I meet such a divine master, though he will certainly be strict with himself. But when it comes to guiding cultivation, it can be said that the intention was well made. Tonight, in the cultural class my master teaches, it was mentioned the cultivation methods of chi applying are quite similar to those of body training. The master must have some kind of divine intention. The more the monkey was back, the harder he was to fall asleep. He simply began cultivating. With every breath, a certain force from heaven and earth slowly shot into his body. He felt the terrifying power within him. The monkey snapped out of his shock. No wonder Master called me dumb. He had already told me the true cultivation method. But the monkey doesn't know you're so anxious. All night, the area was filled with man-eating monsters. Until the next morn, you stand atop a giant rock, exuding the demeanor of a true master. And after yesterday's cultural class, the monkey, I have long since stopped doubting you. He clasped his hands and was very much looking forward to the upcoming lessons. And your idea for customizing the course is simple. It's not about what monkeys want to learn, but rather that what he wanted to eat today was good. Today's lesson is about catching fish. If you use your hands to catch fish, of course, anyone can do it. If the monkey does not use both hands to catch it, early on, you really caught fish, although you say it is profound and unfathomable. Actually, achieving this is quite simple. You can use a fish hook or directly fry the fish, but the monkey didn't see it that way. The master wouldn't set the difficulty for no reason. There must be a deeper meaning. Could it be that the master has already guessed that he has learned the method of chi cultivation? That's why he specially arranged a small assessment. In an instant, the white-clad figure with his master's back to him looked even taller in the monkey's eyes. He gazed at the endless ocean, deep in thought. The feeling of being in suspense and spinning after learning these past few days surged in my mind. The monkey suddenly understood, shouting loudly. The chi within his body burst forth. The sea instantly surged with raging waves. Within just a few breaths, various fish forms emerge in the water. I don't use my hands. He can kill fish with his breath. This is the perfect answer the monkey handed over, but you scoff at it. Hundreds of fish, definitely not just a fishing rod. What can be done is definitely the monkey retreating when difficulties arise. He went straight into the sea to catch them, but you still put on an unfathomable image and arranged another one for him. Tasks you think are impossible to complete in the coming days, no matter how the monkey tried. Yet the mountains cannot move the roar of his setbacks, making you secretly rejoice. At the previous cultivation pace, the fruit monkey probably won't have much left to pass on to his disciple soon. I see you recently encountered calmness. You definitely lack practical experience. As the saying goes, reading 10,000 books is not as good as traveling 1,000 miles. You haven't experienced a real battle yet. Only then they entrench themselves in all sorts of twists and parts. It's exactly like practicing with you. The monkey's eyes light up, rubbing his hands together. After cultivating for a while, he was just about to find someone to fight. You then added, people need to be cautious. If you face a formidable enemy, you should flee first. Hearing this, the monkey was deeply moved. They say in the eyes of the immortals, mortals are always. Master, but it was clearly different from the gods and Buddhas. But only you understand, once the monkey dies, you two will face great disaster. These past few days, the great demons nearby have been the area freedom. If you have the monkey, you're really just sending him to clear out the surrounding monsters. Before leaving, the monkey clears the spike technique. You pause for a moment. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. I have a relatively simple chicken monkey move. Compress the full body of his air pressure and release it between his palms. This is the monkey king's fierce resistance. And after the monkey left, he couldn't wait to use his previous words. In an instant, a massive amount of energy gathered one, all pressed down within just a few short periods. They gathered into a dazzling light. He shouted, "Kami Kami!" And the next moment, at first, it was like a bit of a star, one of the most powerful waves of waves. Once his formation technique was unleashed, it would transform and surge wide. Monkey, wherever he passed, and even more like a monkey growing in every inch of grass. After learning about the Kami Kanan divine power, it became incredibly ferocious. On Shinshan Island, he punched one demon with a single punch. He happened to encounter the brown monster with 1,000 years of cultivation. Monkey pulled out his gooey pie, his energy flowing and his mind flowing. But the monkey monster was about to be killed on the spot. It's not that he can't beat the monkeys, but the monkeys know that ordinary monsters simply can't touch the immortal arts. So the monkey must have its own sect and divine power. After he managed the gate, sooner or later, he would hate the brown bear monster lying on the ground throwing a tantrum and rolling in the void. He is straight, not straight, not straight. No matter what you say, you won't get along. This immediately made the monkey lose interest. He thought for a moment, since today is impossible, I'll spar with you again next time. Strangely, I want to cry but have no tears. This is forced to move. However, the monkey's next move moved him to tears, as he even passed on a technique refining technique 2. After all, with the brown bear monster and the strong monkey king, the monkey monster has 10 times. The progress of the monkey monster on the monkey monster is far beyond what the monkey monster could imagine. In the second battle, the monkey was forced to swell and his face was swollen, but he did not lose heart. At night, the monkey had another cultural class. Last time, he mastered the Kami Kami divine power and swept across Tai Chi Island. This time, the master's teaching was definitely even more impressive. At night, he randomly picked the protagonist from a novel and used a yellow-grey technique to dominate the battlefield. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, the monkey actually comprehended one demon suppression technique. Once the hunter awakens all 840 million divine and demon particles and stirs up the sea in a single fall, before plucking a moon and swallowing the sun, he thought that moving a mountain would dominate a region. Now I realize it's because my perspective is too low. I fear the master's realm is several stories high, but after the monkey left, he wiped the cold sweat away. Next time, I don't know what to use to fool the monkey. At this moment, the monkey had already started cultivating crossbow. Countless spiritual energies from heaven and earth rapidly gathered towards his body. Not long after, a divine demon power particle appeared inside his body. Time and again, he forgot that the divine demon particles inside him had started to split apart, and it gradually becomes fuller. By midnight, he had already condensed over 1,000 divine demon particles. The monkey is clear, feeling his physical strength explode in power. It seemed as if he could sweep everything away with just his physical body. It's time to reclaim your dignity against the brown bear monster. The brown bear monster was beaten until it was ghostly and screaming. When did monkeys become so powerful, even surpassing their physical bodies? Previously, when the monkey taught him cultivation, he was responsible for getting beaten, but now he hasn't even been beaten. He's split up. The brown bear monster could only envy the monkey in his heart, having such a good master. It was truly a happy moment born like a monkey. With day after day of cultivation, the monkey only took half a year, successfully condensed 84,000 divine demon particles, and each one possesses the power of a dragon and elephant. The mountains that once could not be moved, now, with just a little effort, it can be easily lifted. At that moment, the endless spiritual energy of heaven and earth above his head, thunder and wind struck down, but with the 84,000 divine demon particles and thunderous power unable to break the monkey's body in the slightest. Instead, it made his body even stronger. The Heavenly Emperor's intention also resonated with Patriarch Body, far away in the 3 stars cave of the evil moon. What kind of great demon could it be that the Heavenly Emperor would judge him? How could calculate it with his fingers, but could not find the source? Could it be a secret hidden by a great power? Right now, is the time to celebrate the journey to the west with honor. Buddhism has been planning for countless years. According to the original plan, the stone monkey would come to him to apprentice. This was already arranged by the Heavenly Court and the Buddhist sect, but now, it seems his arrived a bit late. However, what Patriarch Body did not know was, not only did the monkey arrive late, he might not even go. At this moment, the monkey is worried about finding more good food. After a year of academic courses, you start playing the victim to the monkey. This year, I ate either the fruit from the trees or the fish from the sea. Even a sage would produce a bird. The more the monkey listened, the more bitter his heart felt. Master, true immortals must eat dragon liver and phoenix marrow. But to cut down the fisherman, I actually endured in the Taishu heaven. A year's old dishes and rice, the monkey's sight has deteriorated. He promised to find delicious fairy tales for his master. To this end, he took the brown bear monster to the western immortal sea. However, when they fish in the West Sea, yet the dragon clan, with the strength of monkeys and brown bears, he directly killed the great immortal blade in the dragon palace. Then he swaggered back to Taishu Island. When you smell the bloody scent coming from them, his expression changed slightly. The 2 demons had cultivated and been reborn. Later, when the killing letter was sent up, maybe even I will be killed. You immediately started shouting loudly. The monkey immediately knelt down. He recounted their experiences in the West Sea. When you hear this and show some disappointment, since you have made a move, why not eradicate them completely, and instead send those little ones back to warn the West Sea Dragon Palace? Can they just let it go? The monkey and the brown bear were strangely eating. Only then did they realize how many mistakes they had made. It seems teaching you how to be good people is more important than cultivating yourself. Let me tell you a story. I recall when I was my teacher, there was an old friend who too became an immortal with a spirit monkey, and his days arts had changed. The ancient Buddhist sages and sages all had the highest visions. He was called the Great Sage of Heaven. However, he became a momentary strange act, overturning the underworld and shattering the Lu Xiao is simply lawless. But in the end, he was suppressed by the Buddhist sect's mighty figure beneath the 5-finger mountain, unable to rise again. What did you learn from this experience? If that divine monkey was stronger than the Buddhist sect's powerhouse, wouldn't that mean he was already firmly seated on the immortal throne? Hearing this, you were full of dark danger. Obviously, the monkey did not realize the seriousness of the problem. If he doesn't correct it in advance, sooner or later, he will be suppressed like a monkey head and become his master. Let me teach you what the true meaning of cultivation is. On this day, the strongest beings in the underworld all share one thing in common. That is, the sleazy monkey looked completely puzzled. After all, a master-like master is a godlike master who can't be associated with being sleazy at all. After much thought, still, please clarify the question. Master, and be a bit sneaky. This time, you might not understand what I mean. So let's put it another way. Steadiness. In the eyes of the heavenly Tao and the sages, all things are but ants, no matter how the ants struggle. As long as there is no way to resist the heavenly Tao, even if all the immortals and Buddhas are destroyed, it won't be your place to do it. The Heavenly Emperor. If the great sage equal to heaven were a bit more steady, the dog's path becomes a saint. Not only can the throne of the Heavenly Emperor be shattered, even the Heavenly Tao could shatter your words, which directly shocked the monkey. He had once thought about fighting gods and immortals. He had never imagined that the Heavenly Tao was his own pattern, and the shock of the brown bear monster, that there were only 4 simple words. Damn. Originally, he just wanted to learn the divine arts from his master, but he never imagined his master's grand ambitions. He was actually overthrowing the heavenly way and exterminating gods and Buddhas. Is it still too late to quit now? It seems you recklessly talk about the journey to the West World View. Uju was clearly shocked by the 2 demons. Anyway, set a big goal first. It's enough for the monsters to work hard. Next, you have to wait far for the teacher. Talk about what is the way of a gentleman. You must know that the strongest in this world, none of them were militants. Each of them is very solid. Every step takes into account tens of thousands of possible future events. Maybe even if you become strong. In front of these calculating people, he was just a young child just starting out. Only by learning how to be a good person do you have a chance to keep going. And the daily teachings I teach are precisely taken from the essence of sages and the Tao Te Ching. Before you knew it, you had been talking all night, getting ready to go back and rest. As for how the 2 demons comprehended, that was their own business. Anyway, he teach you absolute seriousness. The monkey scratched his ears and cheeks. He could recognize every character, but when they all came together, they couldn't understand at all, and the man there was completely confused. But the master said, if you don't understand something, just ask. Senior brother, that's right. Sun Wukong had no choice but to grit his teeth and translate word by word. The master said, those who pass away wear such garments, never ceasing to die day or night. This should be what I meant. The deceased must have been a monster killed by the master. The gist is that the monsters killed by the master can line up and float down the river, day and night without pause. The more the monkey translated, the brighter its eyes became. He suddenly felt as if the clouds had parted and the sun was revealed. It turns out the reason master is so strong, it was precisely because he subdued the monsters one by one. Those who weren't subdued were all killed. The monkey in the river took a deep breath. He felt himself getting closer to the truth, this ethereal demon master. It turns out that it was through constant fighting that he became so powerful. But the brown bear monster didn't see it that way. The master did not destroy the body. Wouldn't this go against the principle of caution? What did the brown bear suddenly think of? Monkey bro, I get it. The river the master mentioned is not the great river we imagine, but the river of time. Only by throwing the corpse into the river of time. Only then can the site be completely destroyed. The more Hu comprehended, the more absurd it became. They even know from the cold of winter, only after the pine and cypress that they had arrived. In the wilderness of the half world, he comprehended the method of cultivation. In the cold that will never melt through endless years. Frozen into ice sculptures like pine and cypress. Use this method to train the body. No wonder the master was so indifferent. By midnight, the monkey began to cultivate the spiritual energy of the great void heaven according to the sage's precision, transforming it into scorching magical power, charging toward all parts of his spiritual platform. Almost every hour, his cultivation level changed. When the first ray of morning sunlight shone on the 2 monsters, a thunderous roar echoed in Wukong's mind. Countless mundane filth explodes, seeping from every inch of his skin. The calamity clouds sky arrive as promised. Above the sky, condensation undoubtedly will tell one thing. The monkey is about to become immortal. Wukong was originally a spirit stone born of heaven and earth. A monkey, the innate body, free from dust and filth, but he ate it on Flower Fruit Mountain, and the innate body of the reverse fruit was destroyed. If it is innate talent, Sun Wukong must have infinite possibilities. I'm afraid it could cause a huge upheaval in a heavenly court. That would be far more than just alerting the Buddha. At this very moment, he once again revealed his innate body, unintentionally stranded impurities. Next up was facing the immortal thunder. Several silver-white lightning spots usually win. He struck Sun Wukong with the first bolt of lightning. It was almost a direct hit to the monkey, but he didn't use it. Instead, he mirrorized everything with his physical body. However, soon the monkey crawled out of the large pit on the ground. Nothing happened, and it was actually pretty comfortable. Lei Jie stayed like this until the 5th round, and after several hours, Lei Jie still hadn't fallen. Then a thunderbolt, thicker than rages earlier, struck down on the monkey. Thunder and lightning surged all around her. Her clothes were completely scorched. Sun Wukong let out a muffled groan like a monkey dragon. 100,000 immortal gods and demons, particles frantically absorbed and exhaling the power of thunder. Then 3 consecutive thunder strikes descended. On Wukong's forehead, intricate Dao patterns appeared. He was not far from becoming a true immortal. Meanwhile, 1,000 miles away, a small dragon with a pure white body revealed itself from the clouds. The hunt for the white dragon and the turtle was originally about tracking traces. Arrest and kill the criminals and kill the great vanguard. But unexpectedly, someone actually broke through the true line to touch you heaven, facing 129,000 god extinguishing thunderbolts. Even Sun Wukong was instantly left speechless. However, in Wukong's sea of corpses, constantly sharing the teachings of the sages you share, appearing 3 souls can be destroyed. A common man's will cannot be taken away. His soul turns to chicken power. It can reverse fortune and arise from within. The monkey has become more deeply moved by your teachings. The spirit is startled by thunder and falls within. Goku's soul was annihilated once again. However, every time the soul is shattered, you will all be in the void. Reforge soul strength. There will always be a qualitatively, and in the distance, the eagle crack. Seeing this scene, trembling uncontrollably, this person passed the 8th round. Lei Jie actually used the method of breaking before rebuilding. He passed the 8th stage of Lei Jie thanks to the soul of the family's magical treasure. Just a part of the damage. He then used the power of thunder to repair and fuse into his divine soul. This incident shocked him even more as a shocking scene unfolded. The 9th thunder strike actually transformed into countless humanoid thunderclouds, condensed into supreme divine weapons and powerful men. Sun Wukong, do you know your guilt? However, Sun Wukong's heart remained completely unmoved. He disregarded the gods and the saints. In this world, the only one worthy of his respect was his master. Sun Wukong roared inwardly and shattered it with a single punch. The thunderclouds in the sky are lifted, and all shackles in the world ascend to the ground instantly. At this moment, the gods and demons within Sun Wukong remain indestructible. The particles have already condensed into a million. With soul and body, all have attained the highest elevation. From the side of the West Sea, watching a spectacular drama of AO9, he couldn't help but gasp sharply. Who exactly is this sacred? He had lost all desire for revenge. Then, choosing a direction, he transformed into a streak of white lightning, trying to go. On the other side, Sun Wukong spent Lei Jie sitting firmly and being regarded by Lei Jie. In a big formation, the realm is stabilized. This is a familiar white dress figure floating in front of the two of them. Wukong and Xiongba hurriedly knelt down towards you. Master, you are all here. The sound of thunderstorm just now was really not small, and Xiongba opened his mouth. I didn't expect such a terrifying Lei Jie to be in the master's eyes. It's just that the sound of thunderstorms is no different from ordinary thunder leopards. But this is also a normal master who is well informed. It is estimated that it is not uncommon for Lei Jie, who is more terrifying than brother monkey, to cross the water to see more. Even the monkey began to figure it out. It seems that the master knows that he must successfully survive the tribulation. As for saying that his Jijin Lei Jie is just the sound of a thunderstorm, I think it is good that you regard against arrogance and patience. Don't be complacent just because you have spent a mere time becoming an immortal. Thinking of this, Wukong also bowed. The master is indeed just a small thunderstorm sound, which is not enough. You nodded before you heard such a thunderstorm. I still feel a little scared, and I have only heard thunder for a long time without seeing it. There are still some doubts. Since the disciples all said it was just the sound of thunderstorms, then it was nothing. Next, as a teacher, I will continue to teach you the scriptures of the saints. Hearing this, both Xiongba and Wukong showed anticipatory looks. In the following days, Wukong and Xiongba conducted physical training together during the day. The monkey also told Xiongba the cultivation method of the gods and demons to suppress the desire. Let the latter also begin to condense the immortal examples of gods and demons. In addition, the monkey has realized the way of the gentleman and cultivated, and he is handy. After listening to the master's lecture for half a month, smoothly, from the middle of the river to the late stage. At this time, Xiongba felt wonderful. This cultivation is as smooth as pulling a barber. But soon to the river, later, the brown bear monster finally hit a bottleneck. The brown bear monster felt depressed. Brother Monkey breaks through the true immortal. It's as simple as eating and drinking. Why is it so difficult for me? What made him even more speechless was that, when he asked Brother Monkey if he had any tips for cultivating to become a true immortal, Wukong scratched his head with a strange skill. What skill? Is it difficult for Sister Jin? It's not just about having hands. On this day, the monkey, who was already at the late true immortal stage, suddenly said, the gentleman plans for the way, not for the right moment. A gentleman wants to have the way and does not seek peace and balance. In the scripture of the sages told by the master, all cultivation methods and divine powers can be explained thoroughly. Only the word gentleman is hard to understand. Looking through the entire text of the Sage Classic, there are over 100 gentlemen in total. This shows that the master values the way of the gentleman very highly. However, the monkey could not fully understand. What exactly does this gentleman mean? He had no way to comprehend all the cultivation methods related to gentlemen, so there's no way to break through the natural barrier. Now my cultivation has reached its most critical stage. He was actually stuck on the very definition of gentleman. If you can't figure out the meaning of these two words next, I'm afraid it will waste a lot of time. Only now did he understand why his master didn't want to teach him the technique. He couldn't even grasp the meaning of the gentleman himself. Truly, I am utterly dull-witted. It seems the only option is to hire a tutor. Thinking this, the monkey no longer held back and went to his master's shaman's dwelling. This shaman's house was originally built by a master craftsman as a subject of study, to train him in mastering power. The task given to him was not destined, and he completed it well. But for an immortal like his master, it was still too crude. The room only had a simple weaving table and stone chairs, and as he followed the master's instructions, traveled thousands of miles, seeking the full treasures of study from nearby towns. At this moment, you sit upright at your desk in white clothes. He is writing famous poems and verses from his past life with his memory. You have a good memory, especially after crossing over. My memory deepens, but you always insist on a good memory, not as good as a worn-out pen. It's one thing to miss some famous words from a past life, but on this isolated island, you can't find anything else to resolve it. He unintentionally developed the habit of practicing calligraphy and writing. If there is a chance to leave this Taishu field and travel elsewhere, these things might come in handy. Nowadays, besides your demeanor as a master, his temperament became even more profound, making him seem even more unfathomable. But just as you start writing, you hear a knock at the door. Master Wukong requests an audience. Hearing this sound, your expression widens slightly. Since you finished finished explaining the Sutra of the Sense, you have not lectured again. Generally speaking, it's not a big deal. The two monsters won't bother you either. Could it be that after this monkey listened to the Sense scriptures? I can't understand the Tao yet. You see, the monkeys are so frizzy. It's not that you can calm down to comprehend. The material of the Sense Sutra must be memorized after a few days, and it feels boring. I hope you teach the divine channel, not the saints. After the door opens, the monkey was a little nervous. The last time the master lectured, he read the scriptures of the saints several times, and he was overjoyed. At the same time, the disciple also understood. Master's words: first of all, people are practicing. If one does not cultivate the Tao for a gentleman, it will be difficult to achieve success. Immediately afterwards, Sun Wukong expressed his problem. The sage is well versed in the words of this book, but there were 107 gentlemen. However, the disciple was dull and puzzled. What is a gentleman? So I also asked the master to solve my doubts. Q, you pondered slightly for a moment. A gentleman has 9 thoughts, which is to think clearly, listen to hearing, and listen to the colors. Si wen mao sai dong yang sai zhong is sai jing dao question. Cha sai nan. Si sai here. The so-called gentleman is the righteousness of heaven and earth, the sage of the world, and the top offender of the world. After listening to your words, the monkey looked fierce. Listening to Zheng's words. If you listen to a word, these words are the same as not saying. You have to continue to talk about your skills, whether you are talking about your heart or your heart, no matter the heart in the world. After all, no one is perfect. If knowledge and action are unified in skill, and the heart is discussed, the gentleman is a saint. Hearing the monkey's eyes lit up, it turns out that I want to become a gentleman. You must first talk about skills before you can talk about your heart. Only by uniting knowledge and action can you become a gentleman. Sun Wukong completely understands what a gentleman is. Gentleman Lunji, the saint cultivates the mind without the mind, which is the heart of heaven, which is the saint. The monkey was completely shocked. This Sense scripture can not only cultivate the Tao and become immortal. If you can cultivate the heart of a gentleman,
Can also become a sage master.
I read 10 years of books, I understand. What is a gentleman? Sun Wukong bowed deeply to me. The master relied on these few words alone to give him an epiphany. The way of a gentleman, the law of the saints, which made him admire it even more. I look forward to learning to read even more. If you don't understand anything in the future, you can come and ask the master. You can come and ask Sun Wukong at any time. His eyes lit up, compared to knowing the way of a gentleman. Monkeys are more concerned about being able to get guidance from their masters. This is the most precious wealth in the world. Then, Sun Wukong knelt on the ground excitedly. I am grateful to be taught by my master. Unexpectedly, Wukong knelt in front of him again. You can't help but be stunned. Just teach him some useless truths. You don't need to be so excited.
There is no need to be so long.
And when the upper and lower are seeking to harm and improve and cultivate as commonplace, this morality is not worth it. 3 bows and 9 bows, you can write it.
Sun Wukong bowed to you again before leaving your room.
He was incomparably recognizable. The master is really good. He actually personally instructed me, and I practiced. After returning, Wukong sat cross-legged. Suddenly, his entire body was shrouded in a haze of energy. Dao fortune spread out, and Xiongbar immediately fell silent. This was an enlightenment that had come back from his master's place. Monkey Bro instantly entered a state of enlightenment. What exactly did the master teach Monkey Brother to understand? But the monkey was free of distractions. In his mind, only the purest thoughts flowed. What is a gentleman? What is a sage? What is the idea of countless Dao people? In his mind, appearing and transforming into lotus flowers blooming, the entire area stretched for hundreds of miles in an instant. The monkey finally understood why the previous breakthrough failed. It was precisely because his accumulated strength was insufficient. The understanding of the gentleman's understanding is also insufficient. It would also abruptly stop at the critical stage of breaking through to celestial immortal. But now, he gained a deeper understanding of the scriptures of the sages. The bottleneck naturally cuts through tangled knots like a sharp knife, easily resolved. Then, an indescribable sense of fame surged in his mind. According to the Dharma enlightenment in the sage scripture, the monkey pulled away, absorbing the duty and spiritual energy into its body, and it began to roam about. In a daze, it feels as if heaven and earth are moved. Within the monkey's primordial spirit, there was a great Tao imprint forming invisibly. Though not clearly visible, yet it constantly exudes a mysterious and swirling aura. This is a stunning image that strikes. Endless spiritual energy from heaven and earth surged endlessly, covering the sky and flowing down for 3,000 li. The power within the monkey surged from every part of its body, swirling around it. His aura was rapidly rising. At the beginning of the Celestial Immortal era, mid-stage Celestial Immortal, only stopping at the peak of Celestial Immortal, a thunderous roar. The sound echoes through the heavenly court, with 9,999 palaces. What does it mean to be surrounded by energy? Regardless of the official rank, everyone heard the thunderous roar. The immortal officials in the hall of Jinwan were undoubtedly not surprised, and their expressions were panicked. This thunder is extraordinary. From the waters of the West Sea, could it be that there is some supreme treasure of the sense of the soldiers? Perhaps it was a sign before the arrival of the heavenly emperor's catastrophe. It indicates that the bright calamity is about to come out. At this time, the South China Sea Guanyin Bodhisattva spoke coldly. Don't be afraid to assassinate the heavenly court and plan with us. Journey to the West has a total of 13 dates. It can be said that it is foolish to lose the light calamity.
How could you come early to help you practice?
Although he is a great immortal,
But the thunder I just remembered.
it also made him a little restless. At this moment, in the Lingxiao Hall, the Haotian Jade Emperor Damo spoke. No matter what kind of holy life it is, no matter what kind of treasure comes out, now I have to care about Journey to the West for a lifetime. On the other side, Taishu Trenzi looked at Sun Wukong in the stable realm, while the brown bear monster was happy for Brother Monkey to break through the realm. I was also very frustrated. It is said that the master needs to to practice in the individual. However, with such an awesome master, but he found that it was a waste. The brown bear monster said that it is fake if it doesn't hurt. When Brother Monkey was confused, I was understood by the teacher at a moment. I am also in a daze right now. I don't know if the master can be checked by security, thinking it was only a monster like this. Then he went to the master's house. The brown bear monster was still outside the door. When I hesitated a little, come in your calm voice from inside the door, and don't be discouraged. Maybe this same essence is really not suitable for you to practice on the same track. Then it can only be an ordinary saint, knowing that it is not possible. It does not mean that the future is bleak. You need to know that there are 3,000 avenues between heaven and earth, and the great alliance between the great avenues. As long as you find the Tao you are familiar with and study it, you will always be famous. I see. The master brown bear nodded innocently. I think what the master said makes sense. Since you have not forgotten the way of the saints as a teacher, there are other ways to teach. As the saying goes, interest is the best teacher, and regardless of whether you have any other skills that you are interested in or are particularly confident in, you can tell the teacher. Brown bear monster. The eyes lit up. The master said, the disciple does have a good skill. The disciples are especially good at winemaking. Your winemaking is good. Xiongbar, listen up. 3,000 avenues. No distinction, no ranking, no distinction. As long as you go to the end, the invincible in this world must know. This world's avenue is the avenue of royal wine, and it is also one of them. Under the road of wine, everything can be brewed. A truly powerful brewer is above countless strong people. Don't look at it as just a way to make wine, but it's unfathomable. Even the truth of heaven can be turned into a word of the brewer's original test.
like a thunderstorm in the sky, left the brown bear monster completely speechless, threw everything into immortal wine. The brown bear monster never thought that a simple winemaking technique could be so tall, and the disciple in you nodded slightly. However, some things must be open and honest for teachers, and what teachers practice is the way of the saints. Although there is also some forgiveness for the great way of wine, it is only a superficial taste. As a teacher, I can teach you some basic winemaking methods. As for your future creation, how to rely on your personal qualifications. These words are to put aside their responsibilities. In case this hero can't cultivate anything, the responsibility is also on oneself. You can't blame the teacher for teaching badly. The disciples understand. Also ask the master to point out the brown bear monster and not deeply. Your heart is sighing, like this. This kind of course arrangement has long been at hand. This is like playing online games in my previous life. If you want to learn some kind of super skill, why do you have to collect some materials? As long as Xianbao is immersed in the task of finding materials, he will no longer complain about himself. Why is cultivation slower than Sun Wukong? Since you have some of your own understanding of winemaking, you should also know that the quality of raw materials required for winemaking is related to the quality of wine. So the first practice of winemaking, it is to find the raw materials used to make immortal wine. After you find the 3 winemaking ingredients, I'll teach you the next step. The brown bear monster thought in his mind that the task was to find 3 winemaking raw materials. Obviously all extraordinary things. It is not possible to find it by scraping in the Taishu heaven. Meanwhile, Sun Wukong finally opened his eyes from his sudden enlightenment. At this moment, he was surrounded by a dizzying aura of inverted reaction. Immediately after, Sun Wukong opened his hand, and a wisp of golden flame rose from his palm. The purple gold flame is called the Void Heaven Dao Fire. It is the pure immortal fire after becoming an immortal. It was created by mixing some Dao energy and innate elements. Previously, regarding the harsh criticism from the master, He kept trying to think about what he had done wrong.
if you don't do well enough, if you take action, you must silence them. Otherwise, getting entangled in karma would bring endless trouble upon oneself. With the master's abilities, you can erase all traces from the flames of cause and effect over time. But he didn't have the supernatural abilities of his master. Naturally, it is impossible to keep hands and feet clean. Later, the monkey discovered that when he was experiencing the heavenly Dao Thunder tribulation, the innate fire contained within, it can completely burn everything in the world to ashes. Even karma can be ignited and burned. Karma means erasing every trace of your existence, completely annihilating you. Although innate fire can only burn part of the karma, but for Sun Wukong, it was already extremely precious. Then, the monkey used the immortality of gods and deeds. For example, after the heavenly thunder passes, the innate fire flowing from the void was carefully contained. And finally, when he broke through to celestial immortal, success achieved by using the fire in its origin, the item that fused his done object and the immortal fire transformation. This void heaven Dao fire retracted its flames. Sun Wukong gazed at the distance. It had been over a month since the last time the Tinlone King invited him over. The Dragon King Tang's immortality ceremony should also arrive. In fact, he wasn't very interested in the so-called ceremony. But when I think about how you can only be like a monkey in this deep mountain forest, Sun Wukong, who was eating fruit, felt deeply guilty. So attending the presentation ceremony of the Tinlone King, his goal was clear: to quietly bring back a table of delicacies said by the Dragon King. If one respects a teacher and has an undefeated demon, for example, hiding things is not easy. Forget about carrying a table full of delicious food. It means emptying out the entire Dragon Palace. For me, old Sun, it's all a trivial matter. On this day, the strange monkey flew towards Golden Turtle Island. Golden Turtle Island is a famous island in the Western Sea. According to legend, after the Fengtian War, there was a small piece of Jinao Island fragments. My old grandson is a celestial cultivator. It's a little eye-catching, so it's better to cover it up a little. Then, the monkey's breath seemed to be gripped by a needle, and it declined wildly. In the end, it only looks like the realm of true immortals. Soon after, the two of them saw the Lion Camel King headed by black clouds in front of them. With the cultivation of the Chilean realm, it is also the realm of immortals. At this moment, he inexplicably sensed a powerful immortal aura. Behind himself, the Chilean clan was born with incomparably exquisite induction. Talent and supernatural powers can break confusion. Insight into the truth. This is a fairy, and it's also the peak of the immortals. How is this possible? The Lion Camel King could not imagine. The demon king of such a realm is not a peerless demon with a prominent reputation. Even some famous demon kings will pay attention to the heavenly court while chatting and laughing with other demon kings who are going to the appointment. The Lion Camel King couldn't slow down. The soul inadvertently sensed the origin of the other party. It actually looks like a demon monkey. The Lion Camel King couldn't help but ponder. His mind was in a mess. I didn't expect the monkey to simply slow down. Let the monkey behind chase after him. Another demon king came to a true immortal world. A river, the big demon should be a Taoist friend who came to the banquet. The monsters above the black clouds reminded one after another. After the surrounding demon kings found the two behind them, the Lion Camel King's talent, if he suddenly turned around and looked at the two monsters driving the clouds behind. The Lion King had an indescribable feeling. No matter how you look at it, this monkey doesn't look like a monster. Instead, he is like a personable Confucian scholar among human beings. But the problem is that this temperament appears in a powerful demon king, which is very unreasonable. It is rare to have such a temperament. Generally speaking, this has a long history. Monster, the immortal family inheritance that has received the right path. Only then can this kind of Taoist temperament be cultivated. The Lion Apprentice King looked at the arrival of the two and thought in his mind, for a moment, if this monkey has some origin, then he naturally needs to be proud. The golden retriever lion's head suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, two brothers. You are also invited by the Sea Dragon King to come and see it. The two heroes are so handsome. There is only a dragon palace in the entire West Sea. Complete move Sun Wukong smiled slightly. In this king's opinion, there is a lot of problems whether he can report his name. I am not good at handling affairs in the south. Called the Lion Camel King Lion Camel by the human kingdom, Wang Langshan spoke. Subsequently, he introduced Sun Wukong one by one. Where did the two demon kings on the black clouds come from? Hey, I am from Dongxing. As for my junior brother's dominance, it was the local Sun Wukong of the West Sea who gave a brief introduction. If he had revealed the Hurugua landscape water curtain cave before, he would have been proud to tell others. He and Xianbai now live in Taishu heaven. However, after cultivating the same scriptures, he knew that the human heart was sinister. So about the origin of myself and Xianbai, Sun Wukong only mentioned it slightly, and it was to the extreme. The Lion King began to think of his heart. That place is far from Nanshan Guizhou. He had never been to some monasticism. Successful immortal monks also like to gather together to live in seclusion in Dongxing. The big demon chatted on the black clouds like this, and told frankly all the anecdotes and strange things. The Lion Camel King also knocked on the side, wanted to ask the two of them about their sincerity. However, both the monkey and the male bully are in the same heart. There is no leakage at all. But the Lion Camel King also analyzed some content from the expressions of the two. When referring to the lion contract, the expressions of the two became solemn and solemn, very respectful. Obviously, the master behind the two demons is definitely a terrifying existence with hidden brain powers. His cultivation definitely far exceeded the level of the immortals. It didn't take long to wait. On the sea in front of him, a huge waterspout suddenly rose and swept the sky one after another. This is the Dragon Palace deliberately used great mana to create a fairy-like tornado in the sea. It is convenient for banquet attendees to find the location of the Dragon Palace. And if you want to enter the Dragon Palace, it is true that it is to enter this waterspout that is 10,000 feet wide. China can dive to the bottom of the sea. If your own mana is insufficient,
insufficient, it is very likely that it will be crushed by a tornado. Subsequently, everyone submitted an invitation to a dragon general in silver armor. The demon kings were about to enter the water spout. The demons unleashed their demonic power to resist the invasion of the water spout, and the master and apprentice king also used the first force to protect the body. At this time, he inadvertently glanced at Sun Wukong and Xianba. Both of these people are urging mana. Then step into the rushing current. The mana of the two of them is pure. Compared with the glamorous mana of other monsters, the gap is not too big. At the same time, a stick girl appeared in front of the Prime Minister at the right time, leading the crowd to introduce Dragon Palace. The rice we are in is not established by the Dragon Palace, but the Dragon King's travels back then. I once met a wolf-toothed golden immortal at the gate of the sect. Wolf Fang Immortal is a tiny golden immortal who has survived the 9 heavens tribulation. He saw the Dragon King Immortal Yuan behind him. When he raised his hand, he opened up this wolf rice, and granted the Dragon King a wolf Ying water palace. This is the origin of the waterway here and the palace here. The practice of production and education is better than abundance. If you have enough money, then you will die. Even if you kneel in front of the door for 3 years, production and education will not look at you again, and the human religion pursues the rule of non-action, and everything follows fate. There is only one disciple in the family. The number of phoenixes at the outer gate is also scarce, which is very mysterious. Therefore, the disciples of the church, in particular, the disciples of the outer sect, were synonymous with the shallow roots of the national road hangout at that time. Many people began to miss the end of religion and the world of the past. Today's Han Huang's attitude towards the formation of religion has already undergone earth-shaking changes. The fall of the Islamic Church of Ezekiel praised the tolerance of teaching and the strength of teaching. In conclusion, Dragon Palace, whether it is the location of the Langya Narcissus, as long as you can get your face to the cult, instantly feeling upscale and prestigious. Only Sun Wukong scratched his head. He quietly asked Xianba, where exactly is this cult? Xianba spoke softly. It was a super deus sect that existed in the primordial world billions of years ago, with countless astonishing immortals and countless successful immortals cultivating and cultivation. The claim that 10,000 immortals come to pay tribute to something for us little demons, but it was a terrifying giant existence. The first thing he thought of was his master. After all, with such a strong master, maybe they can get rid of this so-called cult. Xianba spoke very decisively. Back then, the cult was besieged by other sects in the primordial world, but was helpless against his father. At this time, the trend of the Langya waterway moving slowly stopped. Everyone couldn't help but look around in confusion. I saw the other end of the wolf rice. Suddenly, the sound of celestial music and natural blue music was played, and it came leisurely. There are countless beautiful stick girls dancing nearby. There are dragon-winged scattering flowers on both sides. There are also dragons leading the way, and Sun Wu rises waves and water curtains, and everyone leaves a broad road in the center of Langya rice. Any monster, including the Lion King, this heavenly immortal demon king, was not allowed to step into it. Sun, obviously, this is a VIP channel. It is specially used for the passage of distinguished guests. Others do not have such qualifications. This differential treatment made the Lion Camel King quite dissatisfied. She has been in the South Mountains for many years. Sun thought that if he was invited to the Dragon Palace, he would be treated first class. But I never wanted to stand aside. Like ants and clowns. Fortunately, he is not a reckless person. Instead, she suppressed the anger in her heart. I plan to knock on the Dragon Palace first. Who is the sacred person invited? Sun Wukong looked at all this with empty eyes, both at the peak of the immortals. Sun Wukong didn't feel like he was superior. The Dragon King is treated differently, and there is no fluctuation in his heart. I don't want to stand up for the Lion Camel King. The main task of him and his junior brother is to bring a table of food to the master. That's all. Therefore, I saw the halo flowing in the VIP channel. The color of the food and the glow incited the immortal spirit to be full of halo. It looks elegant, smart, and unique. With a battle against the dragon, there are many more lights, and the square stick girls sings and dances. The dragon girl Pan British has a snow-white lotus platform. Slowly Xingfang, a young man like white jade, appeared above the lotus platform. The face is full of anxious and arrogant writing. Seems to be to tell the people around him. He is the most distinguished guest of the Dragon Palace. Sun Wukong only looked a little far. He felt that the other party's cultivation was actually comparable to his own. Is also the peak of the immortals. Seeing the young man appearing in the crowd, there was a sudden sound, and there was an exclamation. Although the white lotus boy is just a boy, but he is also a boy with tactics. Before we confer the title of God, he also sat down with the saints. Its nature is not better than that of the eunuch in power beside the emperor, fighting above 10,000 people. The same is true for the master boy. Sun Wukong had a strange face. He thought he was here for the great immortals. It turned out to be a boy, which surprised him. At first, I thought that if the big Dragon Palace would invite some well-known characters. As a result, he didn't care about this mere boy. Only thinking about the banquet. Hurry up and start using the indestructible particles of gods and demons. Take a table of delicacies over. At this time, the White Lotus boy stood on the White Lotus terrace, his eyes facing the sky. He didn't even look at the demons and human Taoist priests below, as if he was looking at it. It will insult your own eyes, those creatures that crawl out of the arch on the ground. How can you be qualified to look at him? He was a boy who took the name of the saint. Later, the sage turned into the Tathagata and sat down without leaving the wilderness, and in today's thriving Buddhist sect. As a child sitting under the Tathagata, naturally, he has the identity and status of Yu Longyun constantly rising. In his capacity, he went to the heavenly court to attend the banquet. You can sit with the gods. What's more, coming to this West Sea Dragon Palace. So he has no one above him. The demeanor is flying and domineering, and the monster is like a crow. Let the monsters below grit their teeth, but there is nothing they can do. Can only secretly scold 1 or 2 sentences to vent anger. When things happen, people hate it so much. It made the White Lotus boy's heart more and more happy. He likes this kind of people who are unhappy with him. I can't kill his appearance. But there are 7 people in his heart. He was once a saint boy. Now he has to rely on the monster to maintain his pathetic self-esteem. At this time, the Red Dragon King, the Green Dragon King, and the Tang Dragon King, who were not low in the West Sea, quickly greeted them, leaning forward, respectfully and carefully salute. Needless to say, welcome the White Lotus Immortal. Lead the way. Previously, when the Red Dragon King accompanied the Soaring Dragon King to invite Xianba and Sun Wukong to a banquet, he acted arrogantly, looking down on the two of them. But now, he nodded to the White Lotus boy. Hao Yao followed the White Lotus boy through the nearby passage and entered the main seat, and only then did it their turn. These demon kings and human sect leaders, placing the demon kings in their positions, each has dedicated female staff to serve them, and the table is covered with rare cultivation spiritual roots. Prepared fine wine. Some of these acquired spiritual roots are ancient immortal seeds, which is not easy for outsiders to learn of. The great demons who had previously harbored resentment toward the Lotus Boy's dojo. At this moment, they too are reforming their ways. The debaters began to say some of the good things about the Dragon Palace. Xiao Bian looked at the table full of fine wine. The fine wine is also tempting. The wine brewed by the Dragon Palace really seems better than the one brewed by the Dragon Palace. Many skilled women find it difficult to cook without rice. No wonder his master asked him to find 3 kinds of spiritual roots for someone like him who is just starting out on the great path of wine. Using spiritual roots to brew fine wine is the fastest way. Zone Longwei then started thinking about the spiritual root on the table. The spiritual root laid down by the West Sea Dragon King might not be genuine, but brewing wine for him was more than enough. On the table could be called spiritual roots, Ling Xiao, immortal fruit, purple gold jade, grapes, and the unique spiritual root of the Western Sea Dragon Palace, the mysterious water at its heart come along. However, unlike ordinary immortal fruits, the number of spiritual roots is extremely small. Each table has only a handful of people. If it's not enough to split the points, I have to use my hands and feet. Hurry up and get rid of the brown bear monster. Thinking to myself, many great demons lack much knowledge, so they had no idea how valuable the spirit bones were on the table. Of course, there are also demon kings like the Lion King. He immediately recognized the Xieling fruit on the table with its spiritual root, but he was a demon king. For the sake of face, she still held back. However, he pretended to be very natural and went to pick up the 3 types of spiritual root brown bear monsters on stage, refusing to be outdone, while drinking and admiring the room with the great demons nearby. While the other hand reached for the spiritual root, but holding the spiritual root in his hand, he didn't shove it into his mouth. Instead, he feigned the move. It fell into the immortal particle of the divine demon within his body. Sun Wukong also noticed something and smiled to himself. He also helped Xiong Bie take part of the spiritual root. By the time all the spiritual roots on the table had been collected, looking at the 3 empty fruit plates, only then did the other demon king suddenly come to their senses. Only the lion camel king frowned slightly. He hadn't expected the monkey head and the bear demon to be so caught in the fire. On top of that, he couldn't let go of his pride. So most of their spiritual roots ended up in their pockets. And after finishing the whole table of spiritual brown bear monsters, it feels like it's still not quite enough for brewing. So he picked up the wine and went to the other tables to brew wine. During the toast, it was inevitable that there would be some hands-on interactions. The other monsters had no idea what had happened, and the spiritual roots on the table had vanished without a trace. This shameless trick, the lion camel king was left stunned. Although it's hard to tell what tricks Bear Dad used, but every time he passed the table, the spiritual roots on top of the washing basin mysteriously vanished. Not even 100% of it was this bearish guy's doing. Sun Wukong saw from afar and couldn't help but shake his head. Using divining to be indestructible, particles hide things, making it hard for others to notice. But walking by the river often, how could you not get your shoes wet after many walks? People will always notice the clues. But Sun Wukong did not stop him, because while Xiongba was roaming everywhere, he also began to make moves. Sun Wukong is much more skillful than Xiongba in his moves, often with dishes. Once served, it vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving people embarrassed. The surrounding demon kings and great demons are all down. Speaking of which, if any of you steal a spiritual root, that's one thing. How can someone even steal food from the table? It's just outrageous. Just as the dominant lord proclaims to the assembled demons, brothers and brothers were intent on their spiritual roots. Without warning, a shrimp soldier passing by passed by, and his gaze landed on Xiongba. The shrimp soldier seemed to witness something truly detestable and let out a miserable scream. The vegetable plate in his hand was thrown and smashed onto Xiongba. He was so terrified that he curled up on the ground, pointing at Xiongba, who had already gathered more than half the guests at the banquet. Both monsters and humans turned their gazes in unison. Even the old Dragon King seated frowned as he looked toward the commotion site. Meanwhile, Xiongba broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that when his act of stealing spiritual roots was discovered, countless eyes gathered on demons, and the divine gods probed closely? The bear monster seemed to enter the bear lantern in an instant, even more dazzling than the previous Lotus Child. Sun Wukong was blind. This bear must have been caught by someone. Caught on the spot, right? At least 5 or 6,000 artifact refiners and true immortals present also had hundreds of flavors, swinging widely in front of so many people, swinging wildly and cutting spirits. Well, now it's a clever move, right? Only then did Xiongba train under his master for a few years. He really thought his divine demon domain had been refined to perfection. The situation was even more conspicuous than his, but he knew now was not the time to blame Xiong's father. As a senior brother, he naturally had to help Xiongba. However, Sun Wukong had just set off and only realized this little shrimp soldier's face was filled with fear and shock. Fear is not about grasping the thief's emotions. Instead, it was like the anxiety and fear of seeing a murderer. Sun Wukong quickly realized that this shrimp soldier was not just a trap for Xiongba, but witnesses to the massacre he and Xiongba once carried out.